Hello. What's happening, everybody? Philomena, what's happening? We're going to get started here in just a second, Philomena. No, you're don't walk that way. Go that way.
Literally 1 minute.
Okay, let's go. Aunt D. No, we have a couple minutes. Time to get started today.
Yeah, but don't do that.
Correct. Don't purposely drop it. Right.
Who else do you know that would ride their bikes with you?
They would ride your bikes to where?
I don't know.
Well, why don't you go with your brother or somewhere?
Because he's upstairs addicted to 2K now.
But if you were to ask him to go with you,
He wouldn't.
I bet you he would.
Bet you money he would.
Okay. All right, everybody. Who's ready to get started to make a really delicious apple pie? Hello, everybody. Hey, Michelle.
Hello.
How are you?
Just dandy.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. What would you like me to say?
I don't know. It's all
It's
good.
the day before our virtual school learning kicks off. So,
Oh,
it
I
is
just
what it
forgot
is.
about that.
It's okay. No problem. Let's just enjoy
Virtual
the apple
school.
pie
So
baking.
today, hi, everybody. Today, I haven't made, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't made a pie in at least 15 years from scratch. So I'm got to dust off my culinary brain to remember what to do. I think we're going to be able to pull this off, but I'm choosing it so I can be a little nervous so we can do it all together because we're basically all in the same boat here.
And like baking is very, from what I understand, is much more scientific than cooking.
Correct.
So this is where exacts really come to.
If you try to deviate from the recipe, it's going to not work. And there are a couple tricks in here that I'm going to tell you about how to keep the dough soft and how to keep the dough flaky and sweet and all that stuff. So is everybody ready? Everybody ready to get started? All right, so come on over because again, Michelle's right. It has to be exact. So what we have is 2.5 cups of flour.
What kind of flour?
All-purpose flour.
What brand do you use?
Oh, King Arthur, please. Okay. It's only that is the only flour somebody should use.
Okay.
All right, so I'll start over here. So it's 2.5 cups of flour split into 1.5 cups and 1 cup. That'll come into play later.
There has to be a reason.
Yes.
Okay.
2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. 1 teaspoon of salt, table salt.
Is that like kosher salt?
Can be kosher salt. It needs to be like finer. So if you can have the fine salt, use the fine salt. If you have kosher salt, totally fine with kosher salt. This is going to be 8 tablespoons of Crisco shortening. So let me show you what I'm using. Don't go buy the big old tubs of Crisco. They make them like this now. They make them like butter. Okay? So, and it has the tablespoons already marked off like butter does. All right? And everything's got to be cold. So make sure when you start baking this, everything is cold. Ice cold. Because I just took this out of the, speaking of that, I just took out, hey Z. I went ahead and had to make pie dough last night, so I got to pull it out to let it start getting soft again. Okay, so we'll get back to 8 tablespoons cubed of Crisco shortening. We're going to cube up 12 tablespoons of butter, which is a stick and a half. Oh Lord, Mrs. Kravitz, hold on. Oh Lord. Yes,
What
Mrs.
are you making today? What are you making today?
We're making apple pie. Have you ever made apple pie before?
I've made apple pie, nice store-bought crust, right?
I'm not making a store-bought crust, Kravitz.
I don't know how to make a crust. I don't have any time
Well, you
for
need to be
that.
watching.
You need to be
that's
watching.
why.
I don't have the patience to watch.
Well, for you, because you're the best.
We'll bring you some of
Do I
the
get
pie.
it?
We'll bring you a slice of pie, you and Bob.
And you need to get the poop out of the yard. Your children are stepping in it.
Bye, Kravitz.
Great.
Oh, Sally. Gotta love her. All right, so back to this. We have 12 tablespoons of butter, which is a stick and a half. 6 to 8 ounces of a tablespoon of ice cold water. Okay, which is a quarter cup plus 2 tablespoons, and then I'll explain why. But ice cold vodka. And hey, Aunt Diane, go ahead and take a couple shots for yourself. You'll enjoy that. But the vodka, there is a reason, and we're going to use a quarter cup of vodka, or if you don't have vodka, any 80 proof alcohol, because the alcohol is going to shrink the gluten strands in the flour, so it's going to not allow the gluten to develop, which the gluten would cause a hard, tough crust. So the vodka takes care of that, which is kind of a cool thing. Kitchen tip. So that's it. All right, so let me go ahead and first cut the butter into cubes, which you just cut in half. And then you're going to cut each piece in half. Cube it. And then remember, it's the same thing. To get the same size cube, use the one you just cut. Get it to the end. All the cubes are the same. Okay. And you're going to put it back in the refrigerator for just a minute because we don't need it for another few minutes. But you're going to go ahead and cut it and get it ready. It is just key. This pastry, this kind of pastry pie dough does not like heat. And when you use it, when your hands give heat off, when you're cutting it, it gives heat off. The blade from the Cuisinart gives heat off. I'm going to keep this cold in the refrigerator along with the vodka. Okay, because it all needs to be cold. We'll go back to that later. All right, so first, what we're going to do is, what's up, Z? Everything goes in minus the 1 cup. The 1 cup of flour stays off to the side. 1.5 cups, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt is all going in at once. Okay? It's all going in at once. And if you can, go buy some parchment paper. They sell them online on Amazon or your restaurant supply store. They come in full sheets like this. It's great to have. Way less expensive than trying to buy it in the store on a roll. It's kind of a pain. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a couple of quick pulses, and you're going to get the flour and the sugar and the salt all blended together. Okay. So just a couple of pulses. All right. So that blended it all together. And now we're going to add, you're going to add all the shortening at once, okay, and all the butter at once. Where should I put this? Should I clean it now, Michelle? Would that make you happy? All right, so if you take a look, everything's in there. The shortening and the butter together are going to make it extra flaky, especially the shortening. The shortening is amazing. Also, if you're making fried chicken, take the Crisco, put it in the pot, it'll melt. That's what you fry your fried chicken in. Anyway, moving on. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to have a couple of pulses, and you're going to make this look like a course meal type thing. And you pulse it. You're pulsing it because the longer the blade runs, the more friction it causes. And the more friction it causes, the more heat it is. And this, remember, crusts don't like heat. So you're just kind of keeping it down. All right, so take a look. It should look like that for the first round. All right, so you kind of have that cottage cheesy look to it. Okay. Now we're going to add the second cup now.
Of flour.
Of flour. So that reserved cup. You're going to pulse it again. And you want to pulse it until you don't really see a whole lot of flour flakes, flour chunks in there. And this is going to kind of look more like a cornmeal now. If it rides up the sides, you need to get it off. All right. So that's the base of your crust at the moment. All right, so grab yourself a bowl, a stainless steel bowl. Okay.
Hey, Madeline.
Mads. Okay. Put that there. Put this over here.
Hey, Lori.
Washburn. Mm-hmm. What's up, Miss Washburn? Okay. So if you look, you kind of see it looking like kind of a cornmeal-y, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to add our water and we're going to add our vodka because, again, you don't want to develop any of the gluten or have too much gluten develop, and the vodka will hold back the gluten from growing. All right, so it's a 1/4 cup of vodka, maybe a little extra for yourself, because Lord knows, living next to Sally Siegel, Mrs. Kravitz, you need a little vodka every once in a while. Right, Sally? Just kidding. We love Sally. All right, so it's 6 to 8 tablespoons of ice cold water. Why 6 to 8 tablespoons, Michelle?
So then what are you doing? Why? Oh, that's a quarter.
Yeah, 1/4 cup. So 6 tablespoons is a 1/4 of a cup.
Okay, that's what I was waiting for you to say.
So I'll show you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Looks like
Okay, that's 6. And I know for a fact that you use 8 here because it's really humid outside. If it's not so humid, you use 6. So you start with that. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take your rubber spatula and you're folding this gently. You do not want to work it with your hands. Don't touch it with your hands.
So we're folding it.
You're folding it and then pressing down on it. You're folding it and then you're going to press down on it. Okay, that's where it's going to develop into the dough. Okay. See it working it? Now, what for 4 or 5 hours or overnight, up to 2 days, it can sit like this. All right. And if it's a little tacky, you can add a little flour to it, but it's getting there. All right, so we're there. Okay. So yummy. Okay. You're then going to...
No calories in this whatsoever.
Oh, please. So then you're going to cut this in half because this is a two crust pie. One for the bottom, one for the top. Okay? So you separate it like the Red Sea, right?
Okay, I have all the analogies, but sure.
Well, what else? What would you say?
I don't know.
What would you have used?
I don't know.
I don't know. First thing that came to mind. Anybody have a better suggestion to make Michelle happy? I don't know. All right. Again, here's how you're going to stay away from touching it for long periods of time. You take your plastic wrap. Okay. You're going to take your plastic wrap, and you're going to take half of it.
It's pie crust. It's not bread.
Correct. Who said that?
Madeline.
Mads, pay attention. All right. And then you're going to take another piece on top. And this is where you're going to form it into a 4-inch tall ball. Okay? So you're able to work with it, but you're not touching it because the heat from your hand, right? You can touch it this way, but because if you're touching it directly on there, your hands are going to give off the heat, the oils from your hand. So,
Got it.
see that? Mm-hmm. So now you've got it's about 4 inches. I'll get that later. So it's about 4 inches tall. And this is where you're kind of pressing the sides in and pressing down. And that's where you're going to build the crust. Okay? Again, if it's a little moist in your area, wherever you live, just add a little bit of extra flour. Or you could start with the 6 tablespoons. Okay?
Okay, so
There's one. There's one. And then get 2 pieces of your saran wrap again. Okay?
It's a lot of work.
It is. My mother would never dray around with this mess. She's like, if you don't want to mess around with it, but you want to cook the apples, if you want to cheat and not make the dough, it's a mistake, by the way, because this dough is ridiculous. But if you don't want to make the dough, totally fine. And Sally and I were talking about this yesterday. I told her to go buy the Pillsbury pre-made sheets. I think there's 2 in a box. It's a great product. It works really well. So go to the grocery and get the Pillsbury crust, and then we'll pick it up when we're filling it, and I'll fill the pie dough and show you what to do.
Your mom's like, you're right about that.
Yeah, she ain't draining around with that mess.
Did we ever do a challah? Did we ever?
Not as a show because it's way too long. But what I have done is I put it on YouTube.
Okay, so Madeline said, do you make bread?
Yeah.
I guess you do make bread.
I do. Go to YouTube, type in Chef Hilly, and you'll see all the episodes. But I put on there for my nephew Alex, so he can watch it over and over because he loves to make it. There's a whole 5 video thing on YouTube. Takes you from start to finish. I've had multiple people use it, and it comes out perfectly. So go watch the videos, and you can make your own challah because there's a lot of waiting. Maybe it's like 30 or 40 minutes of actually baking, but then it's like 3 hours of waiting. So I don't know. All right. So these, again, are your pie doughs ready to go. They need to go in the refrigerator for 4 hours or up to 2 days. 4 hour minimum. Yep.
Yeah.
Because you need to have the butter and the shortening re-solidify. Okay. But you can't make it you can't make it in advance. Very cool to make it in advance. Okay. Let me get cleaned up for just a second. Any questions? What's up with everybody? Anybody have an interesting week this week? Anything going on? God, school starts. School. Okay. Are we ready for school? We are?
Yes.
We are?
Yes. If you say it enough times, it will be true, right?
Well, that's apparently what Donald Trump thinks. All right. All right, so this is, now when you pull it out of the refrigerator, let me try that. Wait a minute. Aunt Diane doesn't want me to use my fingers. Oh well, forget it. I got yelled at. Aunt Dee yelled at me for double dipping. All right, so I pulled it out.
Pam goes, Jonathan's at work, but Alex and her are watching. That's really funny.
It's funny.
Preach it. Yep.
Okay. I need this to go away. I'll put this over here for now. We go cook the apples. This corner right here, I duck like this because it is brutal. I have hit my head right there and it hurts. Brutal. All right, you're gonna take parchment paper. You let your dough sit out for about 10 minutes. You don't want it, you don't.
This is what we did when you took it out of the refrigerator. about
Correct.
2 minutes ago. Yeah.
And you don't want it to be ice cold, but you need it to be pliable enough to work. So you can see it. I won't put the top on there, but you're going to top it with a piece of saran wrap. Again, keep away from it. Don't touch it unless you have to. Okay? Oh, I need flour. Sorry. I thought I was almost ready for it.
We don't talk about it.
What?
It's a mistake. It won't be mentioned again.
What? What won't be mentioned again?
Nothing.
You got to tell me now.
But his name. We don't talk about it.
Oh. Okay. All right, so you want it well floured so it doesn't stick. Okay. Take the saran wrap, put it over top. Well, I'm just doing the saran wrap so y'all can see it. Normally I would use parchment paper. I have a tapered rolling pin because it works a lot better than the ones with the handles. Now, this is where you got to pay attention. So you're going to roll it, and every time you roll it, you're going to turn it 45 degrees so it doesn't stick on the bottom, and you're going to roll it out to about 12 inches. Okay, we're going to measure it. That's why I have a tape measure there. Okay, I'm going to roll it, and you're going to turn it. If it starts to stick, just put flour down. Gentle pressure, but you can see if it's too cold, come here. If it's too cold, you're going to start seeing it break all over. So this should be perfect. And you want it about an eighth of an inch thick. Okay? And you're going to continue to take it and turn it. So it's getting a little sticky. Keep rolling it. Again, I haven't made this in a long time, so
Thanks, Madeline.
I'm kind of winging it. What did Mad say?
We're a good team.
She could have gotten out early, though, Mads. She could have said no at the park. And if you need to move it around, by the way, kind of put it on your rolling pin and roll it up. If it starts getting tacky on the other side, if you need to flip it, use your rolling pin, redust it, keep it dry, because wet dough is not good. Okay? And it should roll right out. Okay? All right, let's measure. What do you think? Michelle, it reminds me of you. It's perfect. Okay. All right. So.
Yes, Aunt Diane's like, now I know why I love the Pillsbury pie crust already.
Yeah, but when you taste this, you're never going back to that pie crust. All right. So take it, and this is the other reason we keep it on parchment paper. You can carry it around on the parchment paper. All right. Everything can be done. You carry it around right on the parchment. Okay, it's all done. It's about 12 inches.
Do you take the saran wrap off?
Nope, you don't.
Oh,
Because
does that go in the freezer?
it's going to go back in the
Got it.
refrigerator while you're doing the other one. Okay? Back in the refrigerator while the other, because you got to keep it, it's completely temperamental. I won't even go there.
Just don't.
That's an easy one.
Just don't. Just yes, thank you. We all know. We all know.
I mean, one of us has to be calm and chill.
Yes. Indeed.
Okay, we're gonna do it again. We're gonna dust it with the top. We're going to dust it on the bottom. Heavily dust it. Keep it dusted.
Sally's like, this is the most complicated pie crust she's ever seen. I would agree. It's complicated.
You're complicated, Sally.
No, I mean, this whole process is, I mean, it's not
Right.
for the faint of heart.
That's why we're doing it. That's why we're doing it on Sunday. You get to learn something. Y'all can watch and learn.
That's true.
I mean, Aunt Diane sometimes will.
Hey, listen, Hilly. With
Use
the
matzah.
Ones that were, with the one with the extra, because it's you're making the apple today.
Yeah.
We're gonna have an extra pie crust, correct?
Yep.
Let's get peaches from Judy and make a peach pie with the second one.
Okay, we can do that. I would love to do that. Okay. But I'm telling you, this dough is worth it. Totally
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah. Not necessarily complicated, just time consuming.
Yes, and we have
all
hello.
the time.
We have all the time in the world, people.
That's true.
Where the hell are we going?
Okay, so
You could also, by the way, you can also use this crust for pot pie, not just a fruit pie.
Aunt
What are the
Diana,
questions?
Ready?
Yeah.
Please discuss the difference between gold medal flour and white lily flour.
All right, white lily flour is a lighter. It has less gluten in it, so that's why you use it for biscuits and lighter things. There's less gluten in white lily flour than it is with gold medal, and that's it. It's all about the low gluten because you don't want tough. Gluten makes bread tough. Okay, so but that's it. That's what I've been told. All right. All right, let's see. Needs to be 12 inches. Beauty.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. All right. Now we can take it out. We can take this out and we'll put it right on top. Okay, so you're gonna let that sit in there.
4 hours minimum.
No. This has already been sitting out overnight. This is the one I made out last night. Okay, so the one you make has to sit in there 4 hours minimum.
Oh, got it.
Now we're done with it for now, but you've got to put it back in the
Got it.
refrigerator.
Okay.
Because you don't want the butter to melt and you don't want the shortening to melt. You need to keep it firm at all times because that is a big problem that people may not know. You got to keep it cold and work quick. Once you start working with it, just keep going forward. Don't stop and get it in the refrigerator as fast as you can. So now, because we put a little heat to it by rolling it out, it doesn't like being messed with. You can appreciate that, right, Michelle? You corporate bulldog is what she is, what I'm married to. All right, come on over. Okay, now comes the easier part. Now, if you, again, don't want to make the crust, totally understand, but this is what goes inside. If you buy the crust, this is what's going to go inside. And here's what we have. Okay, I'll explain why that's wrapped in a second. You do. So I'll get to that. I'll get that in a second. So we're going to start with half a cup of white sugar, quarter cup packed brown sugar. There's a difference. A quarter cup light, a quarter cup packed is probably closer to maybe maybe half cup. Half cup. Quarter of a teaspoon of salt. 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. I've already done. And 1 teaspoon of zest. All right. And then you're going to have, if you have the real lemon, this is to make your lemon water mixture. So the apples will not turn as much. Now, it doesn't matter if they turn a little bit. I cut the other apples overnight. That's why they're brown. But it doesn't matter because you're going to cook these apples and they're going to turn brown anyway. So they don't have to stay fully fresh. So that's just, a lot of people don't think about that. But the lemon water is fine because you're going to add lemon zest. So it just adds to the flavor of the pie. So you're fine with that. If you don't have lemon juice, what do you use? What do you pour in the water to keep apples from turning if you don't have lemon juice? Anyone? Does anybody? I'm gonna let y'all mull that over for a second.
Orange.
They could use orange.
Citrus.
Anything citrus. So, but the orange juice is going to transfer flavor. So what else would it be? What could you use that has lemon and lime in it, but it doesn't transfer the flavor to the product? Anybody know that? No? You use a Sprite or a lemon lime. You use a lemon lime.
Got it. Oh yeah, Aunt Diane got it.
Yeah. Yeah, use because it won't transfer flavor, but it will hold because the acid is what you're looking for. Now, I cut these green apples a couple hours ago, and you can see they haven't turned yet, right? Because they're soaked in lemon juice. But the lemon lime acid from the Sprite would do the same thing. Okay. All right, so I'm going to peel the apples. Now, it's 5 pounds of apples. You're going to use a Brayburn, John Gold, or like a crisp, sweet apple, 2.5 pounds, and Granny Smith apples, 2.5 pounds. Okay, so I've already kind of gotten started. So I'm going to go ahead and start peeling some more.
What's the difference between light brown and dark brown sugar?
The molasses in it. It's just dark brown has more molasses. Light brown has less. Yep. All right, so I'll show you a little kitchen tip on how to do the carrots. Do the...
Carrots. Because it looks just like a carrot.
I deserve that.
So similar.
I deserve that.
So similar.
So
similar.
Granny Smith apple. Now, most of you, it's peeling an apple. Most of you know how to do it. But if you didn't know how to get it in one strand, how people do it in one strand, you're not moving. First of all, get a swivel thing. You're not moving the blade. You're actually you're guiding with your thumb, and you're turning the apple with your right hand or left hand. So, and you keep this stationary, and you just turn it into the blade. So it looks like the blade's moving, but the blade is stationary.
You and Bob get a slice, Sally. Promise.
Oh, I'm going to the store, Sally, and getting the store-bought crust for you, though, for your fetching. I'm gonna make the help pie for you.
Aunt Diane says, great tip for peeling the apple.
Yeah, and because a lot of people move the blade, and it doesn't really come out like that. All right.
It's pretty. It's simple.
What? This is simple, yeah. This is simple, but I figured you didn't want to see me peel. I need a couple of minutes of time, so I'm peeling a few more apples than I should have. But so anyway, yeah. Anybody have any questions? What's going on? Any questions so far? Nope. Okay.
I wonder, is there anything that you could use the apple peels for?
Not particularly. Garnish, maybe. You could use it for a garnish on the plate, but I don't think so. I guess you could cook the skin. I guess you could cook it to add flavor, like a stock, like you're throw that in to cook it with, or cook it separately.
And what kind of reddish apples are these?
I got Brayburns, but any...
Like Fiji?
Yeah, Fuji apple's fine.
Fuji.
Do not, under any circumstances, use a Red Delicious.
Yes, no, they get mealy, right?
Yeah, well, so they're soft. They're not hard, and that's what most people make applesauce with are Red Delicious. So you need them to stay firm because you're about to cook them. And what will happen if you use a Red Delicious is that the Red Delicious will break down into mush, and then you'll be left with whole Granny Smith afterwards. So make sure that any firm, red, sweet apple will work. But you have to use Granny Smith because you got to offset the sweetness. Okay. And we're going to top the top of the pie at the end when it goes in the oven. Top it with sugar in the raw. What will happen is if you put regular sugar on top, it'll be fine, it'll work. But when you put the crystalled sugar, the sugar in the raw on top of the egg wash on the pie, it creates a real like sparkly, dense, crispy crust.
I always like the crust.
Okay, so I got the apples done. Now I want to show you a trick with the lemons. Okay, take your zester and you're going to put a piece of saran wrap over it. Okay, I learned this years ago from I forgot who the chef was, but I learned that she was a pastry chef. Oh, at the Mansion Hotel, she taught me. So you wrap it in saran wrap, and you're going to zest. What do we need? A half teaspoon? Just a half a teaspoon? Yeah. And you're going to zest it just down to the white. So we don't need much. Anybody, before I say it, anybody have an idea why I've got the saran wrap on there? And no pieces of plastic do not end up in the food. Anybody answer? No? Nope.
Is this an easy transfer?
So what you're doing is, one, it doesn't necessarily get stuck in the zester, but you're also not going to lose the lemon oil and the lemon flavor off of it. So here you go. It's the same thing with the counters. We wrap the counters for basically easy cleanup. Now watch. I was like, when I learned, it was years ago I learned this. So you take it, and now it lifts off, and now you have all the flavor in the lemon. All right, you've got the oil, the juice, not just the zest, and you have everything go in there. Okay, so we're gonna put that off for later.
Another great tip.
Yes, kitchen tips. People love the kitchen tips.
It's good. It's
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, that's a good one. You'll use that one a lot. Now we're gonna start cutting these apples, and we'll show you a certain way to cut it. Because you don't need a core. You don't need to have an apple core. Again, just like the onion, stabilize it. Slice off a little bit of the bottom, and so it doesn't wobble around and you slip and cut your finger. Okay? Nope. Okay. There's that one. Okay, let's see.
Are we going to have a finished product to show today or no?
No. But we will. I'll post it for sure. I will for sure post it because it takes about an hour to cook. So that's why we're taking a little bit extra time together, cutting the apples and talking about any questions that you may have. All right. So let me show you just a couple of things. If you don't want, if you know, you have that thing, the core that you push down and it makes slices. So your guide is the top of where the peel meets the fruit. Okay, that's the core. Like that's your kind of a roadmap. So you put your knife just kind of off to where the green meets the fruit, and that's it. You're going to cut right around the core, and you're going to get all the meat that you want off, and the core goes away. Okay.
Hello, Bubba.
Is that Barbara?
Yeah.
Okay. 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 So we're going to cut it. When you cut it, you've got to cut it into the side pieces that you cut off into 3 pieces.
3 columns or whatever, yeah.
And then you're going to cut that in half. And that is it. And then into the water. Okay. 1, 2.
Oh, these are not like tiny chunks or anything.
Well, you don't want to make them tiny because you make them tiny, they're going to break down on you. And then you need them hearty because we're getting ready to cook them and put all this stuff in a pot. And you're going to cook it till they're soft, not fully soft, but soft on the outside, firm on the inside. Oop. Leo, come here. Where is he? He's usually like hanging around here.
He just went outside. He's probably going to Sally's.
Going to Sally's house. We share, if y'all don't know, we are sharing our backyard with Sally, our neighbor, Mrs. Kravitz. She built a fence, and we opened up the fence because our dogs cannot stay away from each other. They just can't. It's like sad. So when they built the new fence, they put a connecting in. So now Leo lives during the day, usually when we're not here, although we've been here for 3 months now, 4 months, 6, whatever. I don't even know. What day is it? It's like a... and we share our houses. The dogs share the houses with each other. It's the greatest. Okay? All right. You'll get the idea for that.
So what are you doing with the other 3?
Well, I'll cut them up later. Y'all don't need to see me sit here and cut up. You get the idea for the apples. Okay? Now we're going to strain these apples.
But you just added a whole bunch that haven't sat in there for any length of time. Is that a problem?
No, they were in there. I had them overnight sitting in.
Not the ones that you just cut.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine because they're all going to turn golden brown anyway.
Okay.
So you come over and you're just going to strain out the apples. Okay. All right, strain them out. And now we're going to add everything, all of our things to this. Let me get my half cup measures. Let me get all my measures here. And it's going to go right in. Half cup sugar. Again, be exact. Half a cup sugar. Quarter cup of packed brown sugar. Light brown. You could use dark brown, I would imagine. I guess it wouldn't matter. Okay. Packed brown sugar. Quarter teaspoon of salt. I only have a half a teaspoon, so I'll use half of that. Salt. I know people think, well, what's the difference? Does it really make a difference? Yeah, it does.
With the salt?
With the salt, yeah. People are like, what's that do to it? And it just kind of helps bring out the flavor and offset some of the sugar. It's amazing that little bit of salt, what that little bit of salt do. All right, so 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. That's why if it's sitting in that lemon juice, it doesn't matter. And then you've got the zest. Okay? And you just take it with a spoon. Take it with a spoon, and you just take it right off the saran wrap. I mean, that's what, and then look, it's not all stuck into here. I mean, there's a little bit stuck in there, but it's easily gotten out versus all of it stuck in there. People have a big problem with that sometimes. And then all you're going to do is now toss it together. Okay? I'm going to toss all this together. I'm sorry, y'all. Forgot the cinnamon.
How much cinnamon?
Cinnamon's like eighth of a teaspoon, full teaspoon. Or with this one, it actually really doesn't matter. I know what I said before, but the cinnamon's not going to really make a big difference. So if you want to add a little extra cinnamon, that will be fine. It's not going to change the recipe. But you can kind of already smell it.
Yeah, cinnamon.
Cinnamon, lemon, okay? So I'll get these started to cook. Now we don't have to wait for them to cook. I've already made the apples, so we can get right into making the pie, which will be great. So you're going to turn it on. Whoa. Watch, it's going to go. There it is. Okay. You're going to put them all in at once with the juice and everything. You'll strain the juice out after they're cooked. All right?
And you put it on what, high?
High. You're going to put it on high. You're going to stir occasionally, maybe every couple of 2-3 minutes, but you are going to keep it covered.
Okay.
Because you don't want it to evaporate. You want the liquid to stay in. Okay. All right. But now I've got all the apples made and cooled. So once you bake them,
These were cooked and now they're cooled.
now they're cooled because you've got to cook it, strain the liquid, and let it cool and cool it flat on a flat.
So they don't get mushy.
Yeah, get a cookie sheet, or if you have a disposable pan or whatever. And they've got to come to room temp. That takes about 30 to 40 minutes. Because
You shouldn't put it in like the refrigerator or something?
no, room temp.
Okay.
Because you don't want the apples to get cold. All right. All right. So now, after you cook your apples, you're now ready to put it in the pan. And then it goes into the oven. All right.
Gloves.
Yes, dear. I know I'm not supposed to blow into the glove. I got yelled at by a chef one time to do that. Where's the thumb? There it is. Okay. Good Lord. I'm fighting with this thing. Okay. Probably shouldn't have taken them off. All right. Okay. Here's what it is. All right. So now you want to work quick. Take your rolling pin. Okay. Just take it off the pan. Okay. It is still cold. You can see the chunks. See that chunks of butter? See the chunks of butter and the shortening? That's what makes a crust flaky.
That's what makes a crust what?
Flaky. All right, so the more you have in there, so you're going to roll it, and then you're just going to lay it ungreased right inside the pan.
Ungreased.
Ungreased because you got plenty of butter and shortening. Yep. All right, you're going to let it drape over the side. Any holes, that's fine. But push it down into the corners. All right, go ahead and get it down in the corners because that's where a lot of the shrinkage will happen if you don't press it down. Go ahead and get it all the way down to the ground.